Welcome, our fellow lovers of love, and thank you for joining us on yet another excursion through the stream of consciousness, down the river of tranquility, to fill the lake of life with love.
And you know what?
There we go.
That's not even correct. Hold on. You give the intro.
In this episode of Late Night Love, we dive deep into the intricacies of relationships, parenting, and work-life dilemmas, from navigating the minefield of family obligations to unexpected romantic confessions and managing professional pitfalls. Our hosts explore it all with compassion and candor. Tune in for heartfelt advice, personal stories, and a whole lot of love.
Oh, that was very good. We might need to have you do that more often. All right. So now this should come on. See what happens. We're gonna sound tingy tonight if we don't fix it. That's the problem. And it should have picked it up. I heard it. All right, so we're just going to restart this thing. So we're having some sound issues, mostly my fault because I didn't plug myself in before the show and test it because I forgot. I need a checklist.
You know, we really have to just have a talking to that intern.
Oh, if I only had an intern, that would be nice. I could have someone to do all this for me. And really, it's only the people who watch this live or watch the live recording are gonna have to deal with the awfulness of this. So, and we may just have to deal with it. I may have to post production adjust.
Okay, how are we doing now?
Well, I beat it to it. There we go. You hear the ting. So it picked it up. There she goes. All right, now we have some sound again. Hey, now that we have good sound.
Good.
Yeah, very good. Welcome, everybody. Now that we've actually got some sound. Hey, Lovey, why don't you do us all a favor and redo the intro?
Okay, good evening, everyone. In this episode of Late Night Love, we dive deep into the intricacies of relationships, parenting, and work-life dilemmas, from navigating the minefield of family obligations to unexpected romantic confessions and managing professional pitfalls. Our hosts, that's us, explore it all with compassion and candor. Tune in for heartfelt advice, personal stories, and a whole lot of love.
Yeah, man, I was just all over the place tonight because I messed up. I didn't paste it in the unedited version. That's pretty good for the AI, but it's things like our hosts. I changed to we explore it all with compassion, right? Just minor changes like that because the AI writes weird sometimes. Anyway, but very good. That was, man, she has better entries than me. That's just kind of, oh well. But then they don't get to hear me blowing my intros. So I blow every intro. It is what it is.
You don't blow them all.
Pretty much. It's been a long week. So, it is what it is. Sure, why not cap it off with forgetting to plug in the audio device? Why not?
We're all right now.
Yeah, we're all set. It looks good. It looks good on there. I can edit out that whole part for the post shows.
Yeah, there we go. Great.
So it's just those of us who were not watching live that is really the problem. So we're all good. All right. So this week we've got our normal relationships questions. And, if you hang around to the end, you can relationships, parenting, work, and if you hang around to the end, you get some intimacy questions. Well, not if you're on KUBU 96.5 FM. You have to go look for those. Go to latenightLove.us or go find the YouTube or.
Sorry.
Yep, you don't get those on KUBU, so sorry. But this week we have PCS, your last chance to get PCS tickets, and it's Friday night, 6:00, something like that.
Place called Sacramento.
Yeah, it's a film festival.
Yes.
You get to watch 9-10-minute films made by local producers. They're usually pretty good.
And don't you get to vote too?
Yes, as an audience, you get to vote. You can go there. You can share your opinion. It's a text messaging thing. So,
Ooh.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah. That's a night out.
Yeah, that's a nice night out.
Yeah.
So you got a chance. You can go to accesssacramento.org and for more information and to buy your tickets. All right. What do we've got next? We're just going to go ahead and jump right in.
All right. We're going to dive into relationships.
We're going to dive in.
My little sister wants me to raise a child she had with a married man. What do I do? Okay, now, to give you an update, she was gone away from her child like 6 hours, and she couldn't take it, and she realized what a horrendous mistake she made, and she went running back to her sister, "Give me my baby." And she had a horrible, weak moment, and all of a sudden, it just dawned on her, what am I doing?
Well, many people can feel overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
And in a sense, as a sister, you did the right thing because you just gave her time to kind of work through it. But you had to have been prepared for that to be real. But, that's one of those questions that you never really know what you should do until you're faced with it. Because sometimes what your sister needs is a few hours of kindness, just needs a little bit of perspective, a little break. She was feeling overwhelmed and she needed to reconnect with reality, right? She'd gone, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Many people have driven past their exit on purpose thinking, I'm just never going home, right? Because they're at the end of their rope. A couple exits down the road, we turn around and they go back home, right? Why are you 10 minutes late? Well, because he drove a few exits past. That's why. And women do it too.
Yeah.
It's a very human thing. And now, what do? Sometimes they need a tough love where, no, you're going to have to stick this one out. Sometimes they need the kindness of, they'll come back around. And sometimes that they're in a situation where that child is better off with you and you put your own wants, needs, desires aside for the future.
Apparently that she cares for the child well. It's just
she thought she had reached the end of her rope.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to reach the end of your rope to notice that, I have more.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have plenty. I just thought I was at the end of my rope.
Yeah.
It can happen. And she's young. She's 24.
Yeah.
Thankfully, her sister was there to stand with her during this time. That's what sisters do. Yeah. So congratulations all around. And yeah, maybe she can learn a little bit more in the future about not, be more careful with your relationships. That's the real lesson she's going to have to learn. But so she doesn't get into more of a mess than she's in, because that's just going to be a mess for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Sadly. But good for all of them. Good for both sisters. That means that child is well cared for.
Yes.
Okay. What do we have next?
My boyfriend told me I'm bad at intimacy and he doesn't enjoy it. How can I be with him again?
You probably don't want to be. That's a lazy way to say that's a relationship ending kind of thing, depending upon how you say it. Doesn't seem like he said it with kindness. Just the way she phrased it.
Like he wants to work at it,
Yeah.
he just,
Yeah. Maybe there's some truth to it, or maybe it's just he's no longer feeling in the relationship, and so he's blaming you because he's immature and you don't want that anyway. So thank him for sending you the red flag and move on. Now maybe there is some critique to take there. Maybe you weren't able to freely be yourself in those intimate moments, and there's something you need to work on, or maybe your partner wasn't allowing you to freely let go. Or maybe you're just one of those people who are relatively vanilla and you have to find somebody who's satisfied with that. Either way, it really depends upon how it was approached, and just the way she seems, it wasn't a kind approach.
no,
And
he wasn't.
And that's something that has to be dealt with kindly. And if you can't deal with it kindly, then it's likely it's unintentional design. I'm not saying he thought about this, because probably not that sophisticated, is to end the relationship, to put it onto you. So end it if you can. So
I'd say that he ended it.
yeah.
I don't even think he needs a call back.
Yeah, well,
Really, I wouldn't.
depending upon living situations these days, but
Yeah.
I mean, if she wants some kind of closure so she can close the door on her end, she can do it. But that's my guess what that really was. Even if it was unintentional, my guess is most of the times these things, they're sabotaging the relation. Most people at that age, in their early 20s, they sabotage relationships rather than end them. It's easier. They're immature. They don't know how. It feels easier.
This is the ones that at 45 they haunt you at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Exactly. But it's immaturity. It's, you don't know better that the kinder, cleaner break is kinder rather than the panic break, which is kind of what these are. Unintentional. Be more mindful on what you're actually doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to learn that until you've done it a few times, right? You would think young people could listen to the generations upon generations before. We write books about it.
Did we listen?
Yeah, Romeo and Juliet is essentially the story of, hey, know when to end a relationship and when not, when stuff goes off the rails. If you're considering suicide for your relationship, there's probably needs to be some reflection upon where that relationship is going. I'm just saying, right? There's some things we don't learn, despite the fact that we read them. That's the real lesson of Romeo and Juliet, is that some relationships aren't worth the cost. It's not a romantic story. It's that some relationships aren't worth the cost.
It's a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we think of it as romantic. There's nothing romantic about it.
No, it's all death and destruction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't just consider your own feelings, cannot be the only consideration.
Yeah.
Because they can lead you astray. And they did.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what's next?
Okay. I farted and now my boyfriend is mad at me. How do I get him to come back?
You don't. He'll have to get over it. But you know why?
Well, he was down there.
Yeah. But even still, he'll get over it. But it's because you on a pedestal, you're not supposed to do that kind of thing. It's like the women don't go to the bathroom kind of thing. Some people never get past that.
Are you kidding me?
No. Well, they have to at some point, but reality hits them in the face, so to speak. And
See, this is why I don't put people on a pedestal.
Yeah, it hurts when you fall off. Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I highly esteem people, but
No, pedals.
but I know they're human and they make mistakes.
Yes. Well, just be human,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have muscles during acts like that do things, and contractions, and if there's buildup happens to be in the wrong space at the wrong time, it's getting forced out whether you want it to or not. And if somebody can't accept that these things happen to, it is what it is. It's different than if you did it deliberately, right? It's not.
I don't know how people.
It's not like you sat on your younger brother's head and that's a different thing. So get over it. That's my suggestion.
Okay.
He
will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, then quite frankly, you've learned something about him that you probably needed to know. So yeah, human bodies will do what human bodies will do. So yeah. All right. Let's move on from that one for the love of.
Okay,
right.
My girlfriend says she feels no need to be intimate with me anymore. Should I break up with her?
This goes back to the first one, right? Was it the first one? No, the second. Yeah, the second one. It goes back to the second one. It's the same. She essentially just said the same thing.
Oh.
It was a little kinder, I suspect. Or yeah, she changed the parameters of your relationship without ending it because she's too chicken to end it all the way. So do it for her. It's the same thing. A little kinder, I suspect, but essentially the same thing. It's not like she feels no need. It's not like she has a bad back or some physical ailment or she's going through some emotional trauma and she doesn't feel intimate at the moment. I don't feel the need. Now, she could be going through some hormonal issues and just generally not feel the need, but
she's a little young for that.
Which could be concerning if that's the case.
Yeah.
If she's lost the thing in general, she could be having some hormonal issues, which could be signs of all kinds of potential issues. Or she could just not be that into you anymore and is afraid to break it off because you're kind of a nice guy, but
and she feels bad.
Yeah.
But she doesn't want to.
Yeah. So
do the deed. Yeah.
So if you need a roommate, you got a roommate.
You got a roommate. Yeah. But I don't think he was thinking this is where it was going.
No.
And
if you were older, if they're in their 50s, 60s, well, it's a different question.
Yeah, they're both 26.
But they're in their early mid-20s. Yeah. So and she could be going through a thing. This is one of those things. Maybe she is going through some emotional issues and she just she's out of emotion right now. And she doesn't know how to gracefully say that. And so it comes out as, I don't need you right now. But rather than I can't put that kind of energy out right now. I don't have the bandwidth for it. Right? Which is something we could all respect, right?
Bandwidth?
Yeah, the emotional, mental bandwidth to deal with something. Sorry, I'm a nerd. Leave me alone. But you know what I mean. You've lost there's so much, maybe your mother's sick and your grandma just passed away and your dog got run over by the garbage truck. Whatever combination of calamities happen in people's lives, and Lord knows they do.
They happen. They do.
And sometimes they pile up on one another and you just don't have anything for anything extra, right? even something that's generically positive, most often you just don't have the emotions for it. You don't have the energy for it. You don't have the brain cycles to process anything extra, right? You're just trying to calm your life down, and adding something isn't calming it down. We can all respect that, right? But we also all get through it. I don't suspect that's it, though. But I wanted to give the gracious thing. Yeah, maybe she's going through something, and you want to give her the space for that. I kind of have a doubt about that, but you know, if something she's going through a bunch of stuff.
You would know.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
My ex-girlfriend cheated on me with a coworker while I was in another state, setting up our life to move and start our life and family. She's now seeing this person and still talking to and texting me. Why does she still want to talk to me?
Because she wants the best of both worlds. If this new guy works out, she wants the parachute. The question is, are you willing to be her parachute? Or do you have more respect for yourself than that? She may just have cold feet of moving and sabotage the relationship, as now she's feeling guilty. But, people do weird things during times of stress. But, maybe that brings out a part of her character that you didn't know existed under that type of stress.
I think it's very simple. She wants to be able, she feels guilty. She feels bad, right?
Yeah.
So she wants to be able to be friends, and kind of help him, put his life back together.
Well, she wants to, she's virtue signaling to herself is essentially what she's doing. And the question is, do you want to participate in that or not? The only person she's trying to fool is herself. She doesn't care. She's trying to fool herself into thinking she's not the bad person here.
Mm-hmm.
She's trying to have it all the way so she can come out smelling roses to herself. Anybody else who knows anything knows better, right? At this stage.
Yeah.
So who's this all for?
Her.
Which shouldn't really be all that surprising at this point, should it? Whether it's because she had cold feet and she feels guilty, or whether she's just that self-centered, it doesn't actually matter, from his perspective. Hey, maybe you still need someone to talk to, and you can just kind of use her as the sounding board because, and you get something out of it. But my suggestion would be move on. Because she's only in it for herself. No matter how you slice it, she's only in it for herself. Whether she wants him as the parachute, whether she's feeling guilty and trying to, calm down her own guilt, whatever it is.
She's horribly immature for 30.
Yeah, well, immaturity comes as much to an adult as it does to a child, right? All right, what's next?
Need some perspective after a year of breakup. Should I reach out to my ex?
No, you don't need perspective. You think you need perspective. You still haven't actually moved on. You're still wanting that life that you left behind. You're still looking for some sort of answer that doesn't exist. And instead of focusing forward, you're still looking backwards. The answers that you're seeking aren't behind you. And if they are, you're asking the wrong questions. Seek your future, not your past. There's nothing to be found there. broken hearts, broken dreams. There may be lessons to be learned, but at this point you should have learned them. So it's time to look forward. Even if you got all the answers, you're still going to be in the same spot. So look forward. There's no point.
Why would you do that to yourself? What are you going to set up? Haven't they made a movie with, who was it? John Cusack?
Well, here's the other side.
Goes through all his exes.
But here's the other thing. There's another person involved in this. You're reaching out to them. What kind of disruption to their life are you trying to cause?
Ooh.
Maybe they're trying to do the same thing and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to go reach out and try to drag them back to a place they've left. Maybe you should have some kindness to them and just move forward. It's always my suggestion. You separated, the breakup happened for a reason. Remember that before you consider reaching back. Yeah. And it's not that it never happens, but those reconnections happen by accident. They don't happen because one person reached out. They happen because you bumped together at a wedding or something, and sparks that weren't there before, hit. Maybe you both learned something, and you both are stronger, better people now. And right, that's the only way it happens. It doesn't happen because you reach back and it's because you're looking backwards. It happens because you're both different people and you crash into each other at some weird, strange event in time, and magic happens again, right? Or new magic happens. You should probably describe it that way. That's the only way those things happen. Mm. So, no, move forward. All right, what's next?
How can I convince my wife chiropractic is bad for our baby?
Yeah, good luck with that. But the only you can have her talk to your doctor, but she's just going to say doctors are going to say that. And I don't know. Is it bad? Depends what they do. If they're really just exercising the baby, stretching, it's probably not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But those things can get out of hand, especially if you have a zealous mother. Gets in the hand of we'll call it an overzealous chiropractor. These things can get off the rails. So I understand his concern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
And so this is one of those things I can't give we're not qualified to give any direct advice. This is one of these things. Talk to a few different doctors.
Definitely take up with a doctor.
Yeah, talk to a few different doctors before you go bring this back up with your wife. Mm-hmm. A couple different ones. Get a couple different opinions.
Yeah.
Call your advice nurse and just ask and start there. A lot of these times the advice nurses and things are free from your healthcare plan. So just call and start there. So, all right. I think that was parenting, but we'll start now. We're starting parenting. That was a mix of parenting
in relationship. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is one of those, you're going to have to do as much or more research than your wife has done on that to give you a better answer to that. Mm-hmm. She has done research. It may be slanted research, but she has done it. And so you're going to have to, if you're going to counter that, you're going to have to do your own, but start with talking to your advice nurse and your doctor, and a couple of them, get a few different opinions, because you may be surprised the opinions they have. Maybe it's your own biases. I haven't looked enough into it, so I can't give any kind of informed opinion. I can just kind of generically give how to approach something like this. And you may be surprised if you look into it. But start with your trusted sources, your medical providers, your doctors.
I know some of them form the head, the plates, the skull.
some things may be perfectly fine to do, and some practices may be more dangerous. And so you can have a discussion with your wife about which things you're willing risks you're willing to take. Show her that you're willing to compromise, but you can't do that without doing your own homework and research.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's some parenting?
Does anyone else struggle with regular break-ins and invaders doing very weird things, stealing homework, not flushing toilets, etc.?
Yeah, regular people breaking in to steal homework and not flush toilets. It's people breaking in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People apparently, because no one in the house apparently is doing these things.
Yes, and the homework is not just not getting done; it's getting stolen.
It's getting stolen out of the backpack.
That's a pretty inventive thing. And the thing's not getting flushed is easy. Someone's sleeping or sleep bathrooming. They're not awake enough to get up to go to the bathroom. And in the middle of the night, and they're not awake enough to remember to flush. That's all that is. Deal with it. It's not the end of the world. That's my answer on that one. It'll cure itself over time. It's the other one. That's a pretty inventive story. People are breaking in, and clearly that's now maybe he's sleepwalking. Maybe it's not just kind of half asleep going to the bathroom and you're forgetting to flush the toilet, which happens with kids, right? It's not all that uncommon.
That's pretty common. Yeah,
it's not uncommon. And dog ate my homework is a time-honored tradition, right? So it is what it is. So that's my suspicion, but there is a possibility, however small, that he's sleepwalking and he's throwing his homework away or something, and this is all kind of a sign of that. So
that's a bit of a reach, but it's always a possibility.
It's happened.
It's happened.
Right. I'm not saying hey man, I'm not saying to put any money on it, because don't, but but sleepwalking is something that happens more often than not, and people do strange things when they sleepwalk, whatever they're obsessed with on their minds. So if they're worried about grades or the homework, or if he was sloppy with it, or his subconscious doesn't like school, so he's sabotaging his conscious self. Who knows? Whatever he's trouble, maybe he's being bullied at school and it's coming out like that. It's not as uncommon as we like to joke about.
Yeah.
So, is it probably something to come? Yeah, he's half asleep and going to the bathroom and not remembering to flush, and then he's not doing his homework, and so he's kind of blaming. Well, someone's clearly breaking in and stealing my homework, and then he's in the bathroom. Clearly, it's logical, right? These two things happen on the same day. Obviously. It's a great story. Give him some pen and paper and let him write. It's my suggestion overall. Right? Hey, don't worry so much about the bathroom thing. That will generally clear itself up over time. And the homework thing is just a kind of a standard homework thing. And hey, good luck, because no one's figured that one out. There's no set thing to answer that question. Yeah.
And how to get homework done. No,
there's just
no.
There's not. I mean, you can help them if what actually is happening is he's losing his homework, and it's not. I put it in a backpack and he didn't. You can have a pre-bed routine that helps him with that, and you're going to have to do a little intervention with that, but. But that kind of thing, yeah, I wouldn't rule out sleepwalking. They stressed at school and sleepwalking, right? I wouldn't rule it out.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's less than 1%, but I wouldn't rule it out. Okay.
How to explain to my 6-year-old kindergartner why she isn't called on all the time? It's just such a rude awakening being out into the real world, isn't it? It's awful. You send them to school, these sweet, innocent little things, and the world just hacks and slashes at them. It's terrible.
yeah, that the world doesn't revolve around you anymore.
Yeah. You're not at home. It's terrible.
Yeah, everybody gets their turn now.
Yeah.
And it depends on the child. Some childs will, at this age, will deal with a more rational explanation. You can actually break it down to the minutes. Hey, you only have so many minutes a day. Everybody needs attention. So, right, you can break it down that way. Oh, okay, I get it. They'll get it a rational way. Some need the emotional thing. Well, you know how you're feeling right now. What if nobody else ever got called on? How would they feel? And you can have them connect. So it depends on your child how you want to approach that. You want to be careful with that second one, though, because you can make a child feel too guilty. So if you have an overly emotional child, you want to be very, very careful how you approach that. Try the other approach first. Sometimes it's counterintuitive. You don't want to have them feeling guilty about taking attention away from others.
Yeah.
When they need attention.
Yeah.
So again, if you have someone who's overly emotional, try the other approach first. Right? The goal here is to get them to understand that you need to share the teacher's time, not that they don't get any. And some people will over rationalize. So be careful. Good luck. Okay, what do we have next?
Not 5:30 a.m. for practice. Reasonable? And he's 14 and he's a swimmer.
Oh, for swimmers, I don't know if it's reasonable or not, but it's it's normal. It's swimming. I have heard that it's kind of a brutal schedule for athletic swimmers. So yes, that's kind of what they sign up for. I don't know why, but the swimming schedule, probably because you need dedicated equipment, right? You have to use the pool essentially.
Yeah.
And you can't use it during school hours or you're using a shared community pool, and so you've got to use it before all the rest of the community comes in and uses it. So I hear it's a brutal schedule.
Yeah.
For swimmers. So is it reasonable? Probably not. But if you want to be a competitive swimmer,
that's what you're gonna do.
But here's the thing: anybody who wants to be a competitive anything is going to have an unreasonable schedule. If it's basketball, they're going late nights. If it's football, it's both, depending upon the time of year. Their workout schedules are insane for high schoolers, and it's right. But if they want to be competitive, that's what they do. And if they don't want to be competitive, they've got plenty of rec leagues, right? So you don't have to have that kind of schedule. But do you want to get in the way if he wants to be competitive? I know it feels hard, but if he wants to do it, let him do it. It will build a discipline that he will not regret later in life.
Oh yeah, he's definitely learning some personal skills.
Yeah, time organization.
Yeah, everything. Yeah.
Health. Those kids have to eat right.
Sleep.
Yeah, learn to manage this. Mostly simply learning to manage your time that they have to do. Be here now and show up on days where you don't want to get up anyway and go. Right? Those are the things he's learning, or she. He didn't say which of the question, but yeah, again, I'm going back to, is it reasonable? Probably not, but it's what they do. It's perfectly normal, and it's probably good for them in the long run. Okay, what's next?
Do you let your 1-year-old out of your sight?
Well,
I never did. I mean, my mom,
Well, it depends.
Dad.
Well, it depends, right? Are they sitting down, watching TV, and you're just kind of in the other room real quick? Yeah, it probably happens. You go throw something in the garbage can, so they're out of your sight for 5 seconds. Yeah, it probably happens. Nothing's going to happen in that time. They're not that mobile at that age. So it kind of really depends on the child. I mean, they can roll around, sure, but if they're in their If they're in their playpen or something, you can go throw stuff away. Things like that. It's out of sight. Sure, they get out of sight for a few seconds every now and again. Do you leave them alone? Well, no, right? If you're doing dishes, you put them in there staying with you in the kitchen, right? That's how it works. That's how you do it. Okay, what do we have next?
Music tutor made my daughter cry. Not sure how to handle it.
Okay, is there more? Because what was
I don't remember.
there's no circumstances?
I don't remember.
Well, because this is one of those things, some kids cry because, of criticism that others wouldn't. And if you have music teachers seem to be infamous for this, for being hardest on their best students.
Ooh.
Because they expect you to be better than you're being. Or you could just have a teacher who was burnt out and for whatever reason that day, for whatever reason, took it out on your daughter. Daughter could have been a pain in the butt, without knowing more about the situation that surrounds it. It's hard to know. I know instinctively we want to say our children was always nice and innocent and completely the victim of all this. But with teenagers, it's really that simple. And our kids are going through wide emotional changes. And so, things that on some days wouldn't bother them and other days do. Right? Her daughter could have been having a long day and have her, all invested in some tragedy her friend is going through. And something hits different that day than it normally would have. Or the teacher's a jerk and your daughter's just going to have to learn to deal with it. Because it's going to happen. You're going to have bosses and teachers that are jerks. That on days you're going to want to go home and cry or throw something through a wall.
I had a boss who made me cry every day for like 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is,
because he was so callous and hard. And sometimes I wondered if he was human. And then he sat down and he taught me something on a computer and he became a completely different man. He was funny. He was vivacious. He was energetic. And it hit me. He's in the wrong occupation.
Yeah, probably he should be teaching, right?
Yeah.
He should be teaching people something rather than
he was retail director.
Yeah, rather than the stress of meeting numbers and stuff.
Yeah.
He should be teaching. Yeah, it happens. We don't find our calling, or we miss it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's lots of things you can do. You don't have to be a teacher to be teaching. I'm not a teacher, but I teach things every day.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. How do you handle it? You may want to have, if you're going to have a conversation with a teacher, sometimes I leave these things alone depending upon the situation, right? Letting your child learn to deal with these things is part of life. If you are going to reach out to the teacher, do not do it with any type of accusation. Just say, hey, I was curious. Don't even ask for his side of the story. She came home upset. I'm just kind of curious if you know what happened. And, find out if you really need to. Mm-hmm. Again, it may just be something your daughter's just going to have to learn to deal with because that's part of the education process is learning how to deal with things that make you upset. Right? So, again, it depends. But your princess may not be a princess. So, right? She may have been corrected about something. It's entirely possible that she was doing something that she shouldn't have. She was, so we say, verbally aggressively corrected, and she is not happy. It's always a possibility. And so
it's possible.
With teenagers, anything is possible. So, until you've don't overreact until you find out. It's my suggestion.
There you go.
In any form, right? Because it may just be one of those things where you just let it be. Yeah, y'all learned a lesson there, didn't we? Okay, what's next?
My daughter told me about cutting. She has desires. Actually, she read her diary, and because she's been acting different, and then she found all this idealization about cutting, and then she kind of brought it up to where somehow she got her daughter to start talking about it.
All right, well, you've made the first step, right? You were concerned. You were concerned enough to break a trust, right? And then you made the difficult decision to bring it up with your daughter, and you've gotten your daughter to open up a conversation. Congratulations. You've actually done the hard part for you. The next hard part is for your daughter, because your daughter's going to have to get with a mental health professional and work through these. Because these things have a tendency, once they hit they have a tendency to stick with you. And so as we, mental health hotline.org, right? That's a place you can reach out, talk to somebody, and they can give you more direct information. Find her some resources, right? Her local resources, a counselor. No one wants a young person to suffer. There are lots and lots of resources. And so the key is to get to the bottom of what's driving these thoughts at the current moment and help her work through that. And then second, now that these pathways have developed in her mind, anytime she comes under stress, these type of things will resurface. And so you're going to have her develop tools to deal with that in the future. You're going to have to make her strong. Well, she's going to have to make herself strong, and you're going to have to stand by and help her, is the truth. Yeah. So, again, that's mentalhealthhotline.org. It's 1-866-903-3787. And this is actually exactly what they're here for. So, okay.
All right. The next is, how am I supposed to raise a toddler and grieve? Her mother died.
And so here we have a father who's trying to raise a toddler.
No.
No?
No. This is a woman raising her child. Her mother died. The child's grandmother.
Child's grandmother.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a little different. That's actually a lot different. This is the difficult one, because there's only one answer, and doesn't sound kind. You just do it.
You take it a day at a time. And you just sometimes 5 minutes at a time. And you work your way through your day. And you do the best you can.
Yeah, you get to lower your standards. The house doesn't need to be clean.
Yeah.
No, the toddler needs to be fed and safe. And that's it.
That's about it.
That's it.
Fresh air. That's about it. Get some fresh air. That's good for both of you.
Yeah. What will happen is you will want to take care of that child better as time moves on.
Yes.
Right. But for a few days, a week, a couple of weeks, whatever it is, the child is fed and safe. That's your minimum. You have friends, family, hopefully a husband that's there to pick up the rest of the slack, right? You will want to, because it'll be better for the baby. You will come back to normal life.
You will.
Sadly, you will forever be changed. This is true.
You will be different. Yeah.
Yes. But you will come back to normal life, because life goes on, and you don't need me to tell you the proof. All you have to do is look out and see all the people going about their normal lives. Every single one of them has dealt with tragedy. No one gets out of this life without having to deal with this.
Yeah.
And everybody screams that why can't the world just stop while I deal with this? Every single one of us. And you can't. It doesn't. But yours can. You can pause as much things as you can pause.
As you can. Yeah.
Yeah. Toddler has to get fed. Toddler has to be safe. But other than that, that's a minimum now, right? That's your bar. Anything beyond that are victories.
If you can't take a shower, wash your face.
Yeah. Take the victories where you can get them. Yeah. Remember, that's your bar now. So anything beyond that is a victory, and take your victory.
Yeah.
And those victories pile upon each other. And next thing you know, you will be back to some semblance of normal. But you just have to do it. And she knows it. She just doesn't want to. She just doesn't want to. And who would? Right? It's unfair. Of course it is. But life isn't fair. And we have to pick up and do things that we don't want to do, that we shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to raise a toddler and grieve, except we're humans and we do. So, all right, on to some work questions.
How do you politely tell your boss you don't want to attend the yearly Christmas party?
You tell them you've got a wedding planned or something that day for your best friend in Chico. Right? You plan something else that day with your family.
There you go.
That's just what you do. And actually go. Have a nice day with your family. That way you actually have something more positive to do.
There you go. How do you...
And there's a caveat to that.
Huh.
Unless you actually want to be moved up and promoted in the company, then you shut up and you go to the Christmas party. If this is just a job that you blow off the Christmas party, it's perfectly fine. If you want promotions, you want to network, you shut up and you go to the Christmas party, you put your smile on, and you participate. It's called networking. Don't have to like it. So it's, again, what's your long-term goal? Is your long-term goal to not have to deal with the Christmas party because you don't care? Or is your long-term goal to have a career at this company? That may not be your goal, so blow it off. Knock yourselves out. I'm all for it. I'm not criticizing the decision. I'm just saying make a rational one based upon your long-term needs, not upon your desire. And just desire, I don't like going to Christmas parties. Well, on occasion, even an introvert me who doesn't like going to Christmas parties either, well, suck it up, buttercup, and go, because it's, for whatever reason, it's the best thing to do, regardless of my personal feelings.
You usually volunteer.
Yes, but only because it's what I need to do. If you're going to go, then you go all in, right? Become the indispensable person, become the person that people can rely on. Then that's how you become promoted.
Ooh.
If you have to go anyway, become part of the team that puts it together. At least get credit for doing extra work. People see you. People shake your hand. Thank you for the party. People now know your name because they announce it. Everybody comes and says hello. Be part. You got to go anyway. If it's going to be, if you're career driven, those are the kind of things, extra things that you volunteer for, because you become dependable. Hey, I got a project to do. Hey, that person over there, they did a good job on that Christmas party. Yeah, I know it's not the same thing, but they were good at organizing. Put them on the team. Just saying. Now, if it's just a job, blow it off. I'm all for you. I have no problems with it. Okay, what's next?
How to say my vacation is none of your business. He doesn't like the busybodies. And he doesn't want to talk about, and they're going to talk about how much money did he spend, what did he buy, and he doesn't want to hear about it. He doesn't want to deal with that.
Look, there's two ways to do it. One is you could say exactly that. Just Be blunt. The other way to deal with it is to make it so they never ask you again. It's like malicious compliance. Oh, you want to ask about my vacation? I am telling you every boring detail that I can come up with, and I am showing you pictures, and I am scrolling in, and I can make this 2-minute conversation take 30. And you will never ask me a question again. It's like sitting down for a slideshow presentation of someone's last vacation, right? They really don't want to know all that. They just want to hit the highlights. No. You get everything. They'll never ask you again. So it kind of depends on how you want to do it. My suggestion is just tell them my vacation is none of your business. Move on. And they'll likely won't ask you again either way. Now, so if you want to have some fun with it, of course, you run into the question of the potential of running into someone who wants to have that conversation. And now you're stuck. See, that's the danger of the malicious compliance, because you might have someone who's generally that bored with their lives, or, there's not always somebody, but there's those people out there that kind of randomly show up who will talk about literally anything for hours.
I know. I'm related to one. I talk to her once a week.
So, yeah. So you have to be careful with that one, that second one. But it's fun. As you see people wanting to get away. No, wait, here, look, I got one more. And yeah, you one more, a couple more times. They'll never ask you again. Or you can just say, my vacation is none of your business. I appreciate your interest, but it's really, I don't feel like talking about it. Leave it at that. Okay, what's next?
Ever heard a coworker talking snot about me and wondering how to proceed?
You don't. You just ignore it. There's nothing productive comes out of anything else. Private conversation you weren't meant to hear. So leave it alone. Now, if it comes out in work or something, right? If it manifests itself in some other way, some type of work bullying or something like that, then you may want to deal with it. But my general suggestion on these kind of things is ignore it. Or maybe they had a point. Maybe they over exaggerated it, but maybe there is a critique that you can work on. There's always a possibility that there's a sliver of truth in all that. And you have an opportunity to see a different perspective on yourself. And maybe you can or should or shouldn't think about doing something about it. Or they could just be a complete jerk and just ignore them because their opinion isn't worth, yeah, maybe they're a piece of body anatomy anyway, and they're not, their opinion is worth about that. Right? Okay, what's next?
How to gracefully leave a supervisor job after just 1.5 months.
So it didn't work out. Someone promoted him to a supervisor job. He doesn't like being a supervisor.
He got a better job somewhere else now.
Oh, well, then you just go get a better job somewhere else.
He already did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you mean gracefully leave? You just leave like you would leave any job. You got to, I understand what he means. You took a job, you're there for 1.5 months, and now you're leaving for a different job. And you get it, right? It's not ideal, right? You want to commit to something, a little longer than that, but nobody's gonna hold anything against you if you're taking a much better opportunity. Right? You're a supervisor at a McDonald's or at a small warehouse, right? Running a small team, and you get an opportunity to be the supervisor over in an Amazon warehouse at twice your salary plus benefits. No one's going to blame you for taking it, right?
Yeah.
Congratulations. And you give them as much notice as you possibly can. You help train the person that's to replace you, or the person who's going to temporarily replace you. You get them set up as best you can. You make sure all your P's and Q's and I's and T's are dotted and crossed. All your periods are there. So the next person who's in your job doesn't have a big mess to clean up. That's the most gracious thing you can do, is leave them in the best position possible to succeed. That's all you can do. And you would want to do that anyway. And unless they mistreated you, you want to do that anyway. That's good advice for no matter where you're at. A lot of people think holding information is a way to, preserve job security. And it is not. It is a way to get yourself fired. Someone can come clean up your mess. They will pay a consultant to come do it. So the best way to get promoted is to do your job well and leave it so the next person. So they can actually leave it to somebody else. You can't be promoted if no one can replace you, you knucklehead. Let's think about it. That's not job security. Being stuck in one spot isn't job security. They'll eventually be able to work everything around you, and you'll be bye-bye. Someone can fix your mess. The way to be irreplaceable is to want you to move you, is to have it so you leave things in a better position than you found them. So they move you up, so you continue to fix problems.
Yes.
Yeah, fix problems, don't be them. And congratulations on the new job. Just leave your old one in the best condition possible.
There you go.
Okay.
How to deal with a passive-aggressive female coworker?
Ignore them. Everything else gives them power. Your response is what they're looking for, so don't give them the response they're looking for. Figure out the response they want and don't give it to them. That's how you deal with that kind of thing. Because they want the interaction. They want, right? And they want to do it. I was just asking a question.
Yeah. I hate that.
Yeah. So don't give them the response they want.
I have a retort for that.
Yeah.
I just gave you an answer.
So, but my suggestion is to just you ignore the passive aggressiveness. Back to the malicious compliance. You give them the deadpan compliance. As long as it's kind of reasonable, which, those, you don't give them the response they want. That's my advice.
Okay.
Because then they'll just go. Now, it's not very helpful to everybody else who's now going to have to go deal with them, but because she'll just go on to somebody who's going to give her a response she wants.
Oh, man.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
Not doing anything working from home. Should I return to the office?
Well, probably yes, because if you're not doing anything working from home, they're eventually going to figure that out. And guess who's getting laid off? Or if you're not able to be productive at home. Not everybody can be productive at home. I think people believe they are productive at home. I think they probably do. Those who are honest with themselves are less productive at home, but they work longer hours overall. They'll work later into the night, right? They'll work through lunches. They'll do things because they interrupt themselves, right? So they'll work an hour here or an hour there or 2 hours there, which is why overall teams aren't as productive when they work from home.
Okay.
Right. Even if an individual is more productive working from home, the reason why they're having the return to office has nothing to do with office economics or anything. It's basic, simple. It's teams aren't as productive when they're separate. You work better when you're in the same spot as a team. As an individual, maybe you are. Maybe you as an individual are more productive at home, but you're not as a team.
I used to come in on Saturdays sometimes because I could get like 3 times the amount of work done in an hour.
Where there's no interruptions. And sometimes it's easier to focus. Some people are better at working from home. They're better at managing the time. They have the dedicated workspace. They don't get, the kids are old enough so they don't get bothered or whatever it is. But generally speaking, teams are not as productive. They're just not. And the reason is because you can't just walk over to Beth and go, hey, what'd you mean by this? Then you can't go over to Bob and go, hey, Bob, Beth meant this, not that. I think you got this mixed up, and you can have all that fixed in 10 minutes. rather than having to wait hours for emails and chains to back up, which sending emails is probably the problem in the first place. If those two actually just talk to each other, they wouldn't have the misunderstanding, right? So it's those kind of things. It's fixing those little problems that take more time when you're not together. And that's what you lose. I have now, again, if you're just doing customer service, you're answering phones, you can likely do that from anywhere without, because you're not really working as a team, you're working as an individual. But anything that requires teamwork, you got to be together. Okay. And unless you're in a highly tech office where everybody's got logs in and they've got cameras and you're all working at the same time virtually.
Ooh, that's creepy.
Right. It is a little creepy, isn't it? But that's the only way teamwork can work virtually, because that way you can actually. So, but who wants to do that? Okay, what's next?
How to deal with the constant anxiety about getting fired.
Why are you worried about getting fired?
It just feels inferior, you know, that whole, they're going to find out, imposter syndrome, you know. They're going to find out and they're going to fire me, that I'm just winging it over here.
Okay, well, most people are probably just winging it, so, you know, don't rule that out. One of the things you kind of find out as you get older is, most people don't know what they're doing either. Really.
Not really.
Most people spend most of their day trying to figure out what they don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens far more than you realize. Yeah. Stuff happens every day that I don't know about, right? So I have to dig through and figure it out. Just happened today. I had a blinking light on a piece of equipment. None of the manuals told me what the hell this blinking light was.
Ooh.
And so I have to go figure out what a blinking light is. Is it serious? And it's actually happens to be on the emergency alert system machine. So it's something I've got to figure out, right? It's not like a blinking light on some piece of equipment that I can ignore. It's on a piece of equipment I cannot ignore, right? And it ended up just being a literally thing where it was just telling you that if you're in a condition where you have multiple machines on a rack, you might need to know which one you're actually working on in the browser window. And so if you press a button, somehow it had turned itself on, and so it was telling me, yes, this is the machine you're working on. It was just the light to telling me. So if I was in a thing with 10 different machines, I know which machine I'm working on. It's called an alert button, so you can press it, and then you can look over at the machine and see which one it actually is. So it meant nothing, essentially, but yeah, in my condition, it meant nothing. It was just a blinking light that I hadn't seen before. Somehow it turned itself on, or I had been clicking through it and accidentally turned it on last week or something. Yeah, who knows? So yeah, ones and zeros, man. Ones and zeros. But that's the whole point, right? You've got to have to sit there and figure all this goofy stuff out. And if you want to send us your love letters, you can send it to latenightLove@latenightLove.us. Oh, man. There you go.
Okay. Thank
you. Tried to squeeze that one in because we forgot to do that for like 3-4 weeks in a row.
No way.
Yeah, pretty much. So how do you deal with the constant anxiety about getting fired? Just do your job. You probably have an anxiety disorder. You're probably overly worrying about getting fired. You're probably doing okay. I mean, unless you know you're not, unless you've got some kind of numbers and tracking system, or someone's come and talk to you about your performances, is you're underperforming you're not meeting their expectations. It's not what you have to worry about. Now, in this day and age, layoffs may be something you have to worry about. Last hired, first fired when it comes to layoffs type of thing, right? So that may be an issue, but unless someone has talked to you, unless you know your numbers or your performance is substandard, you probably don't have anything to worry about. But you're going to anyway, because it's probably some part of your nature. You're probably going to have to work on that. It would be my guess. Because if you're feeling imposter syndrome so much that you're worried about getting fired, you probably have some form of an anxiety disorder, and you should probably work on that. There's lots of ways to work on it. I'm not going to necessarily tell you to go find a therapist. It's never a bad idea. Counselor or something is never a bad idea, but you can start to work on those things. Just do some research, start working on yourself. And here's a little advice for anybody who suffers from anxiety. Take whatever win you can. If you didn't want to go to the store, but you got up and went to the store anyway, and you defeated your anxiety and got to the store, take the win. If it took all you had to get out of bed this morning and just start your day, take the win. You defeated your anxiety at that moment. Take the win. The more wins you accept, the easier it becomes. No, strike that. The stronger you become. Accept your wins. It's working out. Just like working out. Accept your wins. The small ones lead to bigger ones. The bigger ones lead to bigger ones. And next thing you know, you're a whole different person that you wouldn't recognize. Take your wins. Start there. And again, just showing up to work, even despite the fact that you're anxious about getting fired. Take the victory. You feel like an imposter, but you show up and you do it anyway. Take the victory. Who knows? Next thing you know, you're going to be competent at what you're doing. Maybe you already are, and you just haven't accepted it yet. Take the victory. Someone hired you and gave you a chance. Take the victory. Someone sees something in you that you don't. Take the victory. That's all I'm saying. Okay, what's next?
We have intimacy questions.
Okay.
Okay. I can orgasm timely while alone,
Yes.
but always a hassle when I am having sex with someone. What do I do?
Well, because you know your own keys and someone else doesn't. And oftentimes intercourse does not necessarily lead itself to your particular combination. That would be my guess. So there's two things you can do. A, you're going to have to teach someone your combination, or B, get out of your own way. Oftentimes, well, not oftentimes, there are occasions where people's head gets in their own way. You're expecting not to be able to orgasm, so therefore you cannot. You have closed yourself off from other ways because you have taught your brain, not your body, your brain, that this is the way it works. And so you reap what you sow, in a sense. So maybe the other trick could be to try to let go a little bit. Always, if you're having trouble orgasming during sex, letting go of your brain is always a generic kind of a generic option. Yeah. Give it a try, because oftentimes we get in our own heads, right? So it's the other option.
Good advice.
That's the other option, but it's probably some combination thereof. Those two options. You're probably a little in your head, and you probably have a unique combination, and so you may have to train yourself for a different combination. I don't know how to do that. You might want to talk to a sex therapist about that particular question, but those are options. This is one of the things that actually we should talk about more. Is men can often have this issue where they can't be finished by masturbating rather than sex, because they have overtrained themselves to be sensitive. They can't get themselves over the hill, so to speak, because they have done it too often for themselves. They have trained their brain.
Too predictable.
They have trained their brain. It's not their body. They've trained their brain. That's how their brain thinks. If you catch them while they're asleep, you can break that thing because they're not thinking. But they've trained their brain that's how it works. And so when it gets to the hill and that's not the sensation they're feeling, they fall back down the hill. It's like Sisyphus, right? And so their solution is to, in those last moments, to finish themselves. And then women get mad because they get all sprayed on all over the place. Right, but yeah, it can happen. There is a problem with over self-pleasure, and it's you train your brain that one thing is, you can essentially overtrain yourself to your combination.
Oh, okay.
So that's why, in a sense, a lot of people who are really good at these things have more than one way to self-pleasure themselves. So expand your repertoire of self-pleasure would be my first suggestion.
There you go.
That was a long way to work into that answer. We can sometimes have some long, windy roads to an answer, but we actually finally worked the way to that answer. That was pretty good.
That is a nice one, hun.
Okay. All right. So what do we got next?
I understand that as women get older, our sex drive increases, but for the last couple of weeks, I've been nonstop horny. How do older women do it? Dude, I used to be at work and waves of lust would come over me. I'd have to grip the desk and just breathe and wait for it to pass. Yeah, that's what you do. You just breathe your way through it. Hey man, imagine being an 18-year-old male and you're going through this. Okay, at least we get to do it when we're older, and 35, 40. So I considered myself lucky. I was able to exercise some self-control.
What I'm thinking is, she's 32 and she's, how do older women, you are the older women you were talking about. I just want to hate to break this to her. 32 is when that happens. And so she is the older women she was referring to. How do older women do with it? So, no, sorry, dear. That's
You
are that group. You are at the end. You're at the beginning of that group. Don't get me wrong. You're at the beginning, but yeah, you have now shifted into, you are no longer young. That's what that means. Sorry. Youth has now gone. Bye-bye.
The baby machine is done.
No, her baby machine is turning on. Full blast.
What? You think so? Oh,
she's
at
32.
At 32.
At 32, her baby machine is cranked on into full gear. It's on hyperdrive.
Yeah.
I've got 8, maybe 10 years left. Come on, let's get a move on. That's what her body is saying now. That's what that is. Yeah, I got 8, 10 years left. We got to go. Nature's a cruel mistress, man. It's her body telling her to reproduce. Well, tricking her to reproduce is effectively what it's doing, but still.
It's tricking her.
Well,
I know it is, isn't it? In a way.
In a way, but also in a way, it's just the natural course of how things go.
But you don't usually think about it when you're on the prowl.
No, of course not. That's all hormones, man. You're not supposed to think about it, because if you think about it too much, you'll go, oh, what the hell am I doing? So you're not supposed to think about it. Right? Think back. Yeah. What the hell was I doing? There's a lot of what the hell was I thinking? It's because you weren't. That's why. And so yeah, it's designed that way for a reason that no longer exists, but it still is designed that way for a reason. And it doesn't go, and it shouldn't go away, because we never know when we have to repopulate the earth. So, right?
Mm-hmm.
The plagues happen. Okay, what's next?
Politely asking for oil, and she's female. She doesn't know how to do this. So how can we ask a guy to where he won't be offended?
Well, this is going to depend on the guy, their age, and if this is something. Is she afraid to ask because she's nervous and afraid to ask, or is she afraid to ask because this has been a thorny issue in the past. And
No, it's just she just feels shy.
okay, so she's just feeling shy. Her partner
Yeah.
may or may not be open to this type of
Yeah.
thing. Well, the very first,
They're kind of new,
okay, the very first thing you do is all you have to do is give them the opportunity. It may be his thing, and so let it happen naturally. Just let it happen. Sometimes you don't have to ask. A lot of times you don't have to ask. Just have to be open to it happening.
Can't you just crawl up on top of them or something?
Well, you can, depending upon the guy. Yeah. You can be more aggressive. Most guys actually kind of appreciate you knowing what you wish for and openly letting us know. Yeah, we prefer that over hints. So, but you can't, there's the easiest way, if she's really shy, the easiest way is just to simply allow it to happen.
Okay.
All right. She's shy about it, to allow it to happen. And you can manipulate things so it becomes that, that's always a natural focal point anyway. And so if you are closer to his head than his bottom half, opportunities will be taken. Oftentimes these start here and work down. Let it happen. Don't get in the way. Oftentimes shy women will get weird as men work their way down.
Oh.
Don't get in the way. Let it happen. They get weird around their stomach, right?
Start giggling.
Well, women are uncomfortable with their stomach, even if they have perfectly nice stomachs, right? Yeah. They feel fat. They feel ugly around in there for whatever reason. And let it go. Let it happen would be my suggestion.
When I cared about my stretch marks and stuff, when I was in my 30s, candlelight and lingerie, everybody looks good, I swear.
You don't. If we're already interested in you at that stage, it does not matter.
It's for us.
Yes, it's for you. But there's also there's a third way to do it. You can drop not so subtle hints before the action.
Ooh.
It's quite as simple. It's, hey, I'm hungry for some sushi tonight. Oh, you're not hungry for me? I don't know what I want to eat tonight. Oh, I got something for you to eat. Those are not hints. Those are clear signals.
Are they?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Those are things we don't miss. Now, we may be stressed or tired or something and deliberately, I'm not in the mood right now. It does happen, mostly to older people, but it does happen, right? But we do know that we're not that daft. And if we are, then we're just inexperienced. But so that's the polite way to ask is, let them know you are open to it. And you can do that with, what does they say? Flirtatious behavior beforehand.
Okay.
You can also, allow it. My suggestion is don't get in the way. It often will happen if you just don't get in the way. Women have a habit of getting in the way because they don't like the maneuver going from the top to the bottom. They get uncomfortable around their stomach. And so, and oftentimes if they're shy and you haven't done a lot of it, they are resistant for whatever reason.
That's the last part we can really see. After that, we can't see nothing.
And you also have to, his previous partner may not have liked that.
Oh.
And so he may be,
reluctant to pull it out. Okay.
So you're going to have to let him know you're open.
Okay.
Okay, what's next?
My boyfriend doesn't want me to touch his penis anymore, and he won't tell me why.
Huh.
They're a little young.
A little young?
Yeah, I think she was a little aggressive.
Well, there's a couple things that could be going on here. Not all of them necessarily pleasant. One, he could have developed an STD from other type of issues, and he doesn't want you to see it until he's gotten healed.
Mm.
You could have been over aggressive in manual manipulation, and it could be a rash type, broken skin things to deal with. And until that heals, he doesn't want you to see it because he's embarrassed. There's all these type of things that can happen. Or you can go back to the beginning of the show and it's, for whatever reason, the relationship is ending.
Back to the beginning of the show.
Back to the beginning of the show.
Well, that's the third one. Gee.
Yeah. Hey, I didn't pick the questions.
I'm sorry.
All right. So what's next?
What to do in between rounds?
Get some water.
Get some water, smoke a joint.
Hydrate. Yeah. But hydrate. It's always a good answer. So you don't get cramps later.
Go to the bathroom, eat.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. So, yeah. Take a nap. I don't know. Whatever it is you'd have to do. Wash the dishes. I don't know. Whatever it is you need to do.
Ooh, do the dishes naked.
Turn on some porn.
There you go.
Whatever floats your boat. My guess is, get a snack and some water and turn on the next movie. That's what you do.
There you go.
All right, what's next?
Last question.
All right. This is funny.
Is it dangerous for a man to stay hard for an hour without orgasming?
Only if it's a side effect of taking the blue pill. And it's gone on for longer than 4 hours, and you need to consult a doctor. If it's just normal
because they are 18, but she's asking because he's telling her, she needs to give it up a lot because it's it's not good for him. It's not healthy. It's dangerous.
Well, here's the easiest answer to that. Well, you can always take care of yourself. I won't mind. Right? But no, it's not dangerous, again, unless you've taken the blue pill and it's been longer than 4 hours, and then you need to go to the doctor because that's a different thing. But as a general rule of thumb, no. It does nothing. It's just blood in an area, and then it goes back to the rest of the area. It's not there's no harm. Do girls actually believe this crap is what I want to know.
You wouldn't believe the lines I fell for.
What is wrong with you people?
I didn't have a brother. I didn't have a dad to tell me.
But that doesn't even make sense. I'm just saying.
Well, we can't help it. We don't know. You guys are a mystery down there. We just,
Yeah. Well, we're all mysteries down there. I'm just saying. I can't believe people. You know what? I guess I do. But there's women fall for cat calls. That's why some do it.
Yeah.
You don't need a high percentage. You just need one, right?
But you know what I do?
What's that?
I go and I buy coffee or a soda or whatever for the guy, and I give it to the guy who's being quiet.
Well, there's one way to deal with it. All right, we're out of here tonight. We want to thank you for being with us. We're on to join us next week, and until then, thank you for being here, and have a good week. And please remember to love everybody and have a good night.
Good night.